So, uh, hi everyone. It's good to see you all. My name is Jessie Wasson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Deputy Director of Inspire Washington, and we're really excited to kick off our advocacy series. These are going to be a series of webinars every month from now until February. Or the start of the legislative session, essentially. We're really excited to bring new advocates into this world and to share with you how important it is and how not scary it is. So we're really glad you're all here today. Inspire Washington acknowledges that we and our cultural partners statewide are on the homelands of Native peoples who have lived in this region from time immemorial. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. We also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands where all of our cultural partners live and work. Currently, there are 42 tribes, 39 of which are federally recognized that share traditional homelands and waterways in what is now Washington state. Some of these are nations and confederacies that represent multiple tribes and bands, and Inspire Washington recognizes all of them. Inspire Washington expresses its deepest respect for and gratitude towards these original and current caretakers and culture bearers of the region. As a cultural sector, we acknowledge our responsibility to establish and maintain relationships with these tribes and Native peoples in support of tribal sovereignty and the inclusion of their voices in teaching art, heritage, natural science, and providing cultural programming. We pledge that our relationship will consist of mutual trust, respect, and reciprocity. I am Jessie Wasson. I'm the Deputy Director for Inspire Washington, and I live in Tukwila within the land of the Duwamish tribe in the interconnected lands of the Coast Salish people. So for those of you that don't know, Inspire Washington is your state's cultural advocacy organization. We are a nonprofit. This is our mission statement. I'll give you a few moments to read that. So at Inspire Washington, we are a small but mighty team. We are made up of myself as the deputy director, as I've said, and Manny Kowalling, who's our executive director, and of course, Madeline Dalton, who is our outreach coordinator and advocacy guru, the main person you will have contact with once you sign up to be an advocate. She, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, is on jury duty today. Otherwise, she would be so excited to be here with you all, and she looks forward to meeting our new faces here today. So Inspire Washington, we do a lot of things. As I mentioned, we are a statewide organization. We serve every cultural businesses from Nia Bay all the way out to Spokane and everything in between. The main work we do is cultural coalitions. We build energy and we bring people together. We work on partnerships and we provide resource development as far as policy and also fund generation with our government partners, as well as other foundations and things like that. We also do a lot of educational events like our statewide tour, AHS Week, and many other town halls and other lawmaker night events. Madeline, who's our communications specialist in this work, she creates toolkits for you to use and make your advocacy work easier. And like I mentioned, of course, advocacy is the most important thing that we do with you and for you. At Inspire Washington, we represent three main buckets of work. The first being science and technology, which includes nature conservancies, fish hatcheries, zoos, science and innovation centers, and aquariums. Do we have any science partners in the Zoom room today? If you are, go ahead and raise your virtual hand. We're excited to see you all today. We love our science partners. The second bucket is heritage, which includes historical and cultural heritage sites, humanities, and the museums. We have over 800 museums in Washington State. It's pretty impressive. Heritage folks, you raise your virtual hands next. We have some heritage folks out there. Awesome. I see you, Val. And then, of course, the arts, which include the broad array of the arts, visual art, literature, music, dance, theater, spoken word film, and non-commercial radio. Okay, arts people, I know you're out there. Raise your hands. Yeah, there's a lot of you. We're so glad you're all here today. Okay. All right, so let's dive in. Let's talk about what is AHS Week, or Arts, Heritage, and Science Week. We also abbreviate it to AHS week. So you'll hear me say that a lot today. So it is our annual State Advocacy Day in Olympia. It happens every February, traditionally the first week of February, whether we're in a long session or a short session, it's always that week. We bring from Grays Harbor to Pullman advocates from all corners of the state attend either in person or virtually. During the week, advocates will take virtual meetings with lawmakers and then, of course, in-person meetings with lawmakers on our in-person day on February 3rd. So if you want to do it right now, go ahead and save the date, the first week of February, and our in-person date is February 4th. So let's talk a little bit about legislative districts, because that is how we do the work of advocacy, right? We all have people that represent us. And in Washington State, we have 49 geographical legislative districts. And I want to make sure that we're really clear about, depending on where you live, you could have a city district, you could have a county district, you could have a state legislative district, and you could have a federal district. And all four of those districts will have different numbers and different boundaries. So it's really important in our state work, in our state advocacy work, that we all know where we live and in what legislative district. I live in Tukwila, so I live in the 11th legislative district. So I'm going to take a quick moment now. Let's all go find what district we're in if we don't know already. It's really easy. Here's the website. You just go to appp.ledge.wa.gov/district finder, and you can type in your address and find out which legislative district you live in, which state district you live in. We get a lot of confusion about, oh, but I live in, Congressman Smith's district, and that's number 9. I don't live in number 9. No, you do live in federal district number 9, but you have a different state district. So let's just make sure we all are aware of which district we live in, because this is going to be really important once you start figuring out which team you want to be on and that kind of a thing. So that's legislative districts. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about our advocacy structure. Just kind of the landscape of how we organize ourselves at Inspire Washington as far as advocacy. So we think of it, or I should say Madeline thinks of it, as a pyramid. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's just the way that she has laid it out. So Madeline is at the top as the outreach coordinator. And then we have 12 regional captains. We've broken our state down into 12 regions, and each of those regions is in charge of 3 or 4 or 5 individual legislative districts. So we have 12 regional captains, and then we have 49 district leaders, so one person in charge of each legislative district. And then we have advocates, hundreds of folks, all statewide, who will join these legislative teams. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what is, oops, where did I stop? Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Let me go back to my screen. There we go. You can all still see my screen, right? Yes, okay, sorry. All right, so let's talk about what is a regional captain. And we have some regional captains in the room here today, which I'm so glad to see all of you here today. So the regional captain is the communication liaison between the outreach coordinator, meaning Madeline, and the district leaders. So they do a lot of things. They attend AHS week, of course, on the day on February 4th. They attend the district leader training webinar that Madeline does for folks in December. They are the go-to person between district leaders and Inspire Washington staff, meaning Madeline. They will distribute resources that Madeline creates to everyone. They help recruit advocates for their region. They also help with just communication as to how to find information on the website, or how to find, where to go or anything like that. And they'll create very region-specific talking points if needed. There are certain, objectives that are maybe very specific to Spokane versus Seattle. And so maybe there's some more attention that needs to be put on those kinds of talking points for those districts. They'll do weekly check-ins with Madeline as we get much closer to the legislative session. These are just quick little 30-minute meetings where Madeline can share information. And of course, our regional captains can ask questions just to make sure everything's on track. And sometimes these will get canceled if there's nothing to chat about, but it's just a good kind of check-in week. And so here is a list of our regions and the way it's broken up at Inspire Washington. So these are our 12 regions and how it, and then which districts go with those. So as you'll see by the star, those are the regions that are still seeking a regional captain. So if you're interested and live in one of these areas, please consider being a regional captain. And of course, you can reach out and ask any questions of me or our fellow regional captains if you're interested. Now let's talk about a district leader. So that's the next step down. So a district leader oversees one district and leads a team of advocates who live and or work in that district. Let me be clear, you can serve in multiple districts if you live in one and work in another. So as long as you are active in that district, you can serve in that. We often have people who do multiple districts, which is great. We love that. So a district leader will help recruit advocates if they cannot find other people. If there aren't enough people that just sign up on their own, then the district leader will help recruit more people. They'll attend the training that Madeline will do in December. They'll help with scheduling meetings with their lawmakers. This is probably the biggest task for district leaders, and I know that may sound scary, but what you'll do is each district has 2 representatives and 1 senator, and it'll be your job, of course, with the support of Madeline and your regional captain, to schedule those meetings with your lawmakers. So you'll email your representatives and your senator. Most likely you'll be emailing their aide, their assistant, and you'll set up a 15 or 30-minute meeting during AHS week. Just scheduling the time is the main task that you'll need to do, and that we'll start doing that in December or January. Of course, we need you to be there on February 4th. That would be wonderful if you come in person. If your team happens to be completely virtual, if you live up in the Methow Valley and it's really hard to get to Olympia on February 4th because of snow and you decide to do all virtual meetings, that's great. You just need to make sure that you're managing all the links for your virtual meetings and make sure your team is aware of when those are and that kind of thing. So you're just kind of the communications manager of your group. You'll also set up and lead a virtual practice or kind of a run through, a rehearsal of how you're going to do these meetings. Like who's going to say what? What is it, the things that you want to talk about? How will you transition topics? That kind of thing. And then, of course, you'll always let Inspire Washington or Madeline know if there's any follow-up information that the lawmaker in your meeting has requested or anything you think we should know that they have said or shared in those meetings. Okay, now the advocates, which I'm assuming will be most of you that are here in this meeting today. You guys are the ones that are there doing the groundwork. You're so important. You are the cultural supporters who raise your voice for the issues facing our cultural sector. You are the most vital role in AHS Week advocacy because you are there as on the ground, boots on the ground people who have the personal local stories to share with your community members. It doesn't, if me, Jesse, who lives in Tukwila, tries to go have a meeting with, someone in Spokane, that just will not land with that representative because I don't live there. You are the people that live there. So it's so important that we have you there to have those meetings. Inspire Washington, we provide lots of materials and do webinars like this to make sure that advocacy work is fun and easy for you. The time commitment, again, super low. You'll need to attend 2 short virtual meetings with your team in January. And then the lawmaker meetings that you'll have on the day or during the week if you decide to be virtual. These are usually 15-minute meetings, sometimes 30 if you're lucky, but usually just 15 minutes. You'll come to Olympia if you can to do those meetings. Otherwise, your team will decide to do them virtually. And then, we do have a lot of monthly webinars like this. You're welcome to attend. If you are new to advocacy, we certainly encourage it, but not mandatory. Okay, now you're probably wondering, Jesse, okay, I understand these logistics, but what am I actually talking about? What am I actually advocating for? So at Inspire Washington, we are the convener of many different groups. Like I said, of course, we are science, heritage, and arts focused, but we have a lot of partners that do that work with us. We have state agencies like ArtsWA, the Washington State Historical Society, the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. Those are the main agency departments that we work with. And the Department of Commerce, if it's a building for the arts or big capital year. So we work with all of those agencies and advocate on behalf of what it is they're asking within the legislative session. So like this first bullet point says, maintaining level funding for those cultural agencies. We want to make sure that those state cultural agencies receive level funding this next year, as it is a challenging budget year. So having level funding is the best thing that we can hope for. We also do this work with state nonprofit partners like Washington Museum Association, the Washington Trust for Historic Preservation, Washington Film Works. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other ones. We work with a lot of really wonderful statewide partners that also have other things that they're asking for and requesting in the state legislative session. At Inspire Washington, it is our job to collect all those things and provide a legislative agenda for all of you advocates to pick and choose what it is that you would like to talk about. We don't require you to talk about all the things on this list. We really want it to be like a menu of things that you can choose from based on what is most important to you as where you live and based on what you do. But here's a list of some of the things we are talking about having on our legislative agenda for this next session. It is still really early in this process. We have not committed to any of these things, but these are just some of the conversations that have started to happen. So like I said, level funding for state cultural agencies, super important. Ticketing practices, fair ticketing practices in Washington State. For those of you who've been around for a few years, ticketing legislation has been a thing that we've been working on for quite a while and haven't yet been able to bring it across the finish line. So we will be working on that again this year. We're really excited to support Washington Museum Association's document fee bill. This was a bill that was in the session last year, but due to like a really minor wording technicality and then the timing of the session, it didn't quite get passed. So we know that they're really passionate about this again, bringing this back for this next legislative session. And if this bill is passed, it will bring a lot of new funding to our museums and historical societies. So we're really passionate about that. Bill? Another topic that for those of you who attended our Cultural Futures event heard us talking about, which is the nonprofit overtime threshold issue. This is not something that we plan on introducing as a bill or anything this session, but it is something that we want to start talking to the legislature about because this is going to take a little bit of time for us all to figure out what the answer is. And by saying we, I mean the legislature, Department of Labor, all those people. So this is just something that we're thinking about bringing up as a conversation topic. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this new retail sales tax bill, Senate Bill 5814. Hopefully, a number of you attended the webinar earlier this week. So again, we are talking about what an amendment may look like, if that is something we can work on this next legislative session. So that could be a possibility. And the theatrical tax credit is another thing that's kind of been talked about. This would be really specific to particular communities and theaters. So this bill is we're still kind of discussing it. Okay. All right. I'm gonna actually, do I have any, let me take a pause real quick. I've talked a lot for a while. Is there any questions from the group about any of those things? How it works? No questions. Lee, do you have a question? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, if we want to suggest some additions to this, what is the best process for doing that?
Definitely email Manny and I. This is the
Right.
perfect time for us to start figuring that out. None of these things that I just mentioned are final. There's still a long road to the legislative session, and we're still kind of talking about a lot of these issues and figuring out with members of the legislature what they have the appetite for, what they have the energy for, because all of these issues, of course, will need a legislative champion. We can't just do it on our own, right? So there's also that of like shopping it around to legislators to see who will bite on it. So there's that piece of it too. So this is a great time, Lee. Send it to Manny and I, and we'd love to have a meeting with you and talk about how I know we've talked about this before in other meetings this week. So yeah, we should have a meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Okay. All right, I will share my screen again. Oh, quick. All right, share my screen again. Okay.
Someone put a question in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the chat. What is the question?
They want to know more about
Oh,
the
more about the
theatrical
theatrical
tax.
tax credit. Sure, Jill, I saw that was your comment. Yeah. So the theatrical tax credit would be for let me see the best way to describe this. So let me back up a little bit. Broadway companies will often do tryouts, tryout shows in different locations, and they often pick specific places like California or Atlanta to try out their shows there because those states have theatrical tax credits. So it's cheaper for them to bring a show there and work on a show before it goes to Broadway in those places. So, so Washington is interested in doing this as well. And I preface this with saying it would be, for specific theaters who could accommodate, a large Broadway show. So it would be, with a very specific group. And so it doesn't, at Inspire Washington, we're really passionate about making sure that we serve the broad cultural sector. So this would be something that we would champion if there was enough interest in it across the state. So, larger theaters that can accommodate that would be in that bucket for sure. Does that answer your question, Jill?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay, so let's talk about why advocacy. Why is it important? First of all, civic engagement. It is really important, especially today, for us to be engaged in the government process, for us to be engaged in the decisions that are made and how funding is distributed. Um, I started this job 3.5 years ago. My background is in theater. I was a stage manager for a really long time. I couldn't even tell you one name of a person on the city council. I couldn't tell you who my congressperson was. I had no clue about any of those things when I started this job. And as very quickly I learned how important this is and how absent arts and culture people have been in this area for a really long time. And I'm really passionate about making folks know that it is easier than it looks and it is more important than it seems. So and to share that we really can tangibly make a difference. It is pretty impressive the things that advocates with Inspire Washington have accomplished over the last 4 or 5 years, certainly during COVID. So I just want to emphasize you do make a difference doing this work and having those 15-minute meetings doesn't seem like much, but it really does. When all have those meetings together in Olympia, it makes a huge difference. So it does. I just want to make sure that it doesn't seem like a lot, but it does. So there's that point. Building a relationship with your lawmakers, of course, will pay off for us as the cultural sector, but also maybe for you as an individual and maybe for your individual organization as well. It's also a fun event. It's arts and culture people from all over the state coming together. We have a really good time. There's networking and other kind of social events that happen throughout the week. You get to meet new people, people who do work similar to yours, but in different parts of the state. So I highly encourage, if any of these things speak to you, I highly encourage you to participate and sign up. Here's a little bit about the calendar of AHS week coming up. Madeline just created the sign up form. I'm gonna put that in the chat in a little bit so you can sign up for AHS week now. So we're gonna take sign ups starting now through January. The next kind of, other than the webinars that she's gonna have, the next kind of big event is in the beginning of January. We do the All In for Advocacy rally. This is a statewide virtual event that we do every year right before the session starts, where we just kind of level set of like, here's what we know, here's what we've heard. We will also officially announce and introduce the legislative agenda to everyone in January, the things that are on our official list of what you can advocate for. Of course, this is representative government, so you can advocate for whatever you'd like, but we'll send you the list of the things we would encourage folks to do. So that'll happen at the beginning of January. And then 2 weeks before AHS week, all of the district teams will do a quick huddle, meeting like a meeting where you guys will talk about the things that are important to you. You'll come up with a game plan for your meetings with your lawmakers. And then the following week, you'll do a practice session, a rehearsal for your meetings. Because they are so quick, those 15-minute meetings, you want to make sure you're really fine-tuned with what you say and the order you say it in, and just make sure you're really ready for that. And then, of course, AHS week comes the beginning of February. It starts the 2nd. Virtual meetings will start the 2nd. And then the in-person day again is February 4th in Olympia. I want to take a moment and pause and talk about virtual participation, because we are a really big state with a giant mountain range in the middle. And I totally understand that oftentimes folks on the other side of the mountains, or even out in the peninsula, will struggle to get to Olympia at the beginning of February with snow and things like that. So please know virtual participation is totally okay and encouraged. There is a virtual attendance section on the sign up form. So if that is important to you, please make sure you fill those things out, and we will make sure that there are virtual meetings for you to attend. We'd love for you to come in person, but know that virtual participation is totally okay. And honestly, with the virtual participation, then your meetings are a little bit more flexible, because you can do it anytime that week as opposed to just on the one in-person day. So there's a little bit more flexibility in that. So in person, let's talk about the in-person opportunities. So like I said, it is all week, and there are other partners that we work with who do other events throughout that week. We want to just make sure to highlight that if you want to participate. February 3rd, which is Tuesday, just the day before our Advocacy Day, WAMA and the Washington State Historical Society, they host an all-day event for museums and historical societies and things like that. But honestly, it's great information for most nonprofits. And it's a free event. You're welcome to attend. I'm not sure where it will happen. It's in Olympia, obviously, but I don't know exactly where yet. But that always happens on February 3rd. And then usually ArtsWA, our state arts agency, will do a sip and chat event the night before Advocacy Day. So also on February 3rd in the evening, they'll rent out a restaurant and have some food and get some drinks. And honestly, it's just a big social fun time. So I highly encourage you to come to that if you're available. And then February 4th, Wednesday, we kick off bright and early at 7 a.m. with the Heritage Caucus. Heritage Caucus is a virtual event, as I'm sure many of you know. So we will stream it live at our location. So you can come, we'll have bagels and coffee and things like that. So if you're gonna watch it anyway, you might as well come watch it together. And then for those of you not coming to Heritage Caucus, we'll start doing check-in at 8:30. You can come anytime starting at 8:30 for check-in, and then we'll do our big kickoff event at 9:30. And this is the event you want to be at. So we'll once again go through all of the different legislative agenda things. And we'll also have folks from all the people who are the proponents for the different things like Artswa, Historical Society, Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation, and Washington Museum Association, etc. All those people will be there to talk about their actual requests. So you can ask any questions of them specifically. It's also just a good kind of refresher. We'll all be there together and that kind of thing. So that'll happen at 9:30. And then the lawmaker meetings will happen all day. So we will have a location where you can come and go. So you can hang out. We'll have snacks and places for you to hang out and Wi-Fi, and you can work in between. So people often will just come for the day. They'll go do their 15-minute meeting at the Capitol and then come back and hang out with us for a couple hours and then go back and do their next meeting, that kind of thing. We'll have a space for you to just be for the day. We'll do a group photo at the end of the day in the rotunda, as you can see this photo. We would love more folks. We may have to think about doing the group photo a little bit earlier because by the time 4 o'clock rolls around, we often don't have everyone there anymore. But we'd love for you to stick around for that. Okay, I guess here's some more things that Madeline wants you to know. Oh yes, you can join as many districts as you like, as long as you live or work there. That's totally fine. You can do both virtual and in-person meetings. Yep, totally true. Oh, this is a good point. Oftentimes what happens is you will have a meeting with the legislative aide rather than the actual lawmaker. And I cannot put a stronger point on this, that meeting with the legislative aide is still awesome. Like, I don't want y'all to think that, oh, I'm just meeting with the legislative aide. That's not as important, or it doesn't mean as much. Totally not true. These legislative aides are awesome. They are hardworking people who care about the work that their boss does. And they regularly will bring things back to the lawmaker. So it is still really, if you can only get a meeting with a staffer, take that meeting. It's still really important. We really need more folks to sign up, particularly outside the I-5 corridor. Again, virtual option, please utilize that if you need to. And bring a friend. It's a fun day. You'll meet lots of people. Okay, so the next steps, I hope I've convinced you about the importance of advocacy. I hope you'll sign up with us. I'll put the link in the chat to sign up here pretty soon. So that's the next thing you need to do is sign up. And then if you're interested, we're going to do a webinar on October 4th at 12:30. And this is going to be all about how to talk to lawmakers, how to put together a meeting with a lawmaker, what are some tips and kind of things that will help with your persuasion kind of a thing. We'll have a lawmaker there in person or at the meetings who will give you some tips, and you'll just get to meet another lawmaker. So that's something, mark your calendar for that. You'll see that coming out in our emails pretty soon, October 24th at 12:30. Okay, that is all I have to share right now. And now we're really fortunate to have two of our super awesome regional captains here today, Kate and Carrie from Snohomish County. And we're gonna do just a little Q&A with them. And I have some questions that are prepared, but also this is an opportunity for all of you folks to chime in with whatever questions that you have about being an advocate. So first of all, Kate and Carrie, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Carrie Johnson, sorry, she, her, Carrie Johnson. I'm with the Snohomish County Arts Commission.
And I'm Kate, also she, her, and I'm also on the Snohomish County Arts Commission, and I also run the Lake Stevens Community Band.
Great. I'll go with Carrie first and then Kate. So we'll keep it that way. Can you tell the group how long you've been advocating with Inspire Washington?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 3 years now, as a regional captain, and have taken lots of meetings with lawmakers.
And Kate?
Same, I think we started with 3 years ago. Yeah, this will be our 4th time.
Okay, and how has AHS Week made a tangible impact on your community or your organization?
Well, I mean, first off, it makes me absolutely aware of what's going on at the state level for in the arts and science and heritage sector. I first heard about it before advocating when they were talking cultural access, and that's how I got involved a year later. So it's definitely made me more aware what at like I said, at the state level, what's going on within the communities and how it could impact my community.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it has helped me as my own, private business owner, as an artist. I have benefited from 2 rounds of funding that was from the COVID recovery money, and I didn't know about that except for doing this sort of advocacy work. And of course, that was something that I advocated for at the time. And so, and then also, you kind of mentioned it, taking those meetings with the aides, the legislative aides. I mean, those are people who often live in, my district, and I've taken meetings with them since, and having like a relationship and them knowing who we are has been helpful in many ways.
That's awesome. What is the most powerful lesson you have learned as an advocate?
Being in the room matters. Like, it's cheesy. The song I always think of is Hamilton. I want to be in the room where it happens. And it's right. It's absolutely, spot on. You want to be in that room. You want to be advocating for your organization, for yourself as an artist, for the things you care about. Because if you're not in the room, someone else is.
100%.
I was going to say that being an advocate is really powerful, because lawmakers are hearing people's opinions all day long, and a lot of them are lobbyists and such. And when you come in and say, I'm a community member, they perk up and they listen. And like Carrie said, like, if you don't get that moment to hear for them to listen to you, somebody else will take that moment. And when you go there and to Olympia on that February 4th, you'll see other groups there too, and you're going to be running into farming groups and Boy Scouts and all sorts of other groups, and they're there doing it too. And we do absolutely need to make sure our voices are heard, because there's a lot of voices.
Absolutely. Yeah. What is your favorite part of AHS week?
I think being in the room with all of the other, advocates and cultural workers, there's so much collective wisdom there. It's just, you get this like bucket feeling, there's there, and it's fun, you get to see people that maybe you see every once in a while, but then you get to meet them and hear their story and get to advocate alongside them, and it's so fun.
Yeah, I also have had experiences meeting people there in Olympia, and then following up with them later, collaborating, inviting them to my concerts. I also really enjoy seeing like the Capitol building there. It's open to the public when they're in legislative sessions, and when you have some downtime, it's really cool to go in and see how the government works, and it helps you as an advocate to know how to advocate better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is one thing you wish you knew when you first became an advocate?
You don't need to know all the nitty-gritty details of every single bill that's on the sheet. You can just hit the highlights. These meetings are fast. By the time you're in the room, sitting down, having introduced everybody, or at least the few people who might be talking, you've got like 5 minutes left. So, you can't really debate the quality of one individual bill. You just have to hit the highlights. So it's not that hard. It really isn't that hard to be in there and advocating, because they want to hear your story.
Right, it's simple, it's needed, it's appreciated, you know, and it's a really easy way to, you know, help yourself, help the industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Carrie and Kate. I'm going to open it up to the group. Does anyone else have any questions about what it means to be an advocate or what it means to be a regional captain, or maybe things you're thinking about and just want to get some feedback on?
I will say this.
Yeah.
Being regional captain, it's really fun to do it with a partner. I don't think I could have done, or I don't think I could have done it without Kate. Kate is the organized person of the group. So it's very, if you can find somebody to do it together, then I'd say yes, go for it.
Yeah, everything's more fun with a buddy. I agree.
Yeah, certainly.
Mm-hmm. I just put the link to sign up, so you all can be the first people to sign up as advocates for 2026. This will very soon be on our website and in our emails and everything like that, so folks will be able to find it more quickly now. We'll start updating the website and everything and getting all those things up there in public. But feel free to invite anyone and everyone that you would like. Any other questions about advocacy? Or anything that Inspire Washington does?
I have a
Hi,
question.
Miranda. Yeah.
I wanted to know the regional captains, is there a minimum and maximum for each region? Like, it sounds like there's a partnership in
Well,
Snohomish where there's
yeah. I mean, minimum one, right? There needs to be at least one. But if you have a team of 3 or 4 people that want to do it all together and share the responsibilities, that's totally fine. Yeah. Same thing with district leaders. You know, if there's 2 people that want to be co-district leaders, it's totally great. More the merrier is how we feel about it. Especially if there's someone who's brand new and wants to partner with someone who's done it before, you know, that's a great way to, you know, educate and provide leadership opportunities. This is a great thing to put on your resume for those who want it. Okay. Any other questions? I'm happy to give you 15 minutes of your day back. All right, I'm going to put my email address in the chat as well. Please feel free to reach out at any time. I'm also going to put Madeline's email in the chat because she's the one that you will most hear from as soon as she gets back from jury duty on Monday. All right. Thank you all. Great to see you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.